DatelineAbuja.
Hello, good morning, and welcome to DatelineAbuja, your number one general TV magazine program on AIT. Thank you for being with us this beautiful Thursday morning. I'm Hauwa Momoh. Well, for those of you that would not know, today marks the International Day for Peace, which is a day devoted to strengthen the ideals of peace, both within and among all nations and people. And the theme for this year was tagged Together for Peace, Respect, Safety, and Dignity for All. This year, the International Day of Peace aim is to mobilize and engage people to show support for refugees and migrants. And let's not forget that last week on DatelineAbuja, we discussed on the plight of the internally displaced persons and the need to support them. And let's not forget that they are victims of violence. Well, before we go furthermore into our main focus for today, let's have a look at the African Fashion and Cultural Week, which took place over the weekend in the Federal Capital City, Abuja. Fashion is known to be a popular style in clothing, accessories, makeup, body, or furniture. The fashion in Nigeria has always been diverse, reflecting its cultures, religion, etc. But recently, Nigerian fashion industry has developed in exposure, structured training, and so on. The Federal Capital Territory has developed in terms of entertainment and in particular fashion shows, as it has constantly created platforms for fashion designers to showcase their designs and artworks within the FCT. The just concluded African Fashion and Cultural Week that took place during the weekend at the Exhibition Gallery in the capital city is one amongst a good number of such platforms that is being put in place to expose fashion designers in the city, especially upcoming designers. Some of the designers at the African Fashion and Cultural Week had one or two things to say about fashion, especially in the Federal Capital City.
Oh, fashion is your state of mind. Fashion is how you express yourself. Fashion is, oh, see me, I'm great. That's what fashion is to me. It's going to explode. It's already exploding. I mean, like this forum, you can see lots of people, fashionable people expressing themselves in a fashionable way.
I think fashion to me is an extension of oneself, the way you can probably combine accessories and fabrics together to bring out something beautiful.
So fashion for me is life. You know, when you want to speak about yourself, you want people to respect you, you want people to see who you are really. Go into fashion. Tell them through what you wear or what you do. I will not talk about capital city, but I will talk about Nigeria. I think the designers now are moving away from tailoring to being designers, creative designers. And it's a good thing. Very soon Nigeria is going to go out there in an international platform to showcase what we have. Even though people are still wearing made in Nigerian products, but we need to do more and sell more.
To me, fashion is all about comfort, you know, what you wear and you're comfortable, what makes you happy, you know. So one man's food is another man's poison. You could wear, somebody will not be caught dead wearing what somebody feels is the in thing, you know. So for me as a northerner, I backed up my idea of fashion and with a conservative perspective and modesty in mind, you know. Whatever I feel makes me comfortable and I feel good wearing it and makes me happy. Basically, I feel I'm fashionable in it.
How do you see fashion in the FCT like 2 years from now, knowing that Abuja is now really an entertainment zone?
Anymore.
What do you see fashion? How do you see fashion in the city?
Yeah, I think the fashion world really is booming. So many designers coming on board, and it's really high tech. You see so many brands, proudly made Nigerian brands, and that you think we're off the runway of Louis Vuitton or Dior catwalk stage, but actually they are made by Africans. You know, it's really revolving, seriously, and it's something that we've always had within us, but we just needed something, an impetus, something to make us delve deep in there and bring it out. We are very creative. Africans are very creative, and I think fashion initially must have started from Africa before it went there, from what I'm seeing right now, you know. So fashion is all about being happy, wearing something that you're comfortable with, you know, having decency and modesty as a watchword.
Fashion is a part of our everyday life. So be unique and different, just like the popular adage says, dress the way you want to be addressed. Because fashion is instant language. Well, moving on, as we join the world to mark the International Day for Peace, our focus will be on the need for peace in our society. Well, as we all know, Nigeria for a while now has been faced with insurgency, which has driven millions of people out of their homes and left most dead. Nigeria is, however, being confronted by multiple security challenges, particularly the Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast, the long-running militancy in the Niger Delta, and the increasing violence between the herders and farming communities spreading from the Central Belt southwards, and also the Biafra agitation in the southeast. With all these confrontations in the country, it is obvious that there is need for peace and togetherness in the society. Well, right after this break, I'll be discussing furthermore on the need for peace in our society with my guests. Stay with us. I've been watching this city for most of my life, and I've seen it grow. And I can't believe how quickly it is growing. DatelineAbuja, here in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, just makes sense. This city is at the center of so many stories, culturally, socially, and economically. When you look at Abuja, what do you see? When you see a market, I see a melting pot of culture. Where most people see construction, I see development. A road, I see connectivity. The lake, I see possibilities. This is my city. See it from a different perspective. For news, people, places, events, and lifestyle, DatelineAbuja, here in the Federal Capital Territory. Well, my guest today on DatelineAbuja discussing the UN International Day of Peace is Yankas Cyril. He is a political scientist, a peace advocate, a political strategist, and he is the president, National Association of Political Science Department, University of Abuja. You're welcome to DatelineAbuja.
Thank you for having me.
Well, today we're celebrating the UN International Day for Peace. So as a peace advocate, what's your understanding of peace?
Peace, just like any other concept, most especially in the social science discipline, it's not really easy to have a definite definition or interpretation. It all depends on your orientation or the perspective in which you view it. But peace in the context of Nigeria, being a heterogeneous society characterized by ethnic difference and religious difference and otherwise, peace, I believe, can be defined or interpreted as our ability to kind of resolve our differences, our ability to resolve conflict amicably without necessarily resorting to the use of arms and any other related activities that will end up adding more harm to the citizens. So, and in this context too, some will define peace as a particular stage where harmony, justice, and of course equilibrium exist in the society. But in the context of Nigeria, just as I said, it should be an ability to resolve our differences amicably.
Nice one. Well, today is the UN International Day for Peace. Why do you think the World Peace Day is significant, especially to our present situation?
Well, the World Peace Day, which is a day set aside by the United Nations Organization to preach peace, or to celebrate peace rather, is very significant, most especially at this trying moment at the global level, when you have issues of regional crisis, global crisis, and even internal crisis. It is very significant because it gives us an ample opportunity to preach peace, to also solidarize with our fellow citizens, most especially the Myanmar citizens, the Rohingya, and so many other refugees out there, to solidarize with them, to support them, to as well preach to those neighboring nations to come to their assistance. So it is a day set aside to celebrate our common common existence as global citizens, and to also preach peace as the only way or the only means through which sustainable development can be achieved.
Oh, nice one. What impact do you think that this World International Day for Peace have on the people and on our society as a large?
The impact is not really far-fetched. It is, just as I said earlier, being a day set aside for most especially young people to go out there, preach peace, and it has a very huge impact, most especially looking at the Nigerian situation, where we have the issue of IPOP coming out there at the southeast. We have the Boko Haram insurgency, and all these things are being carried out, or most of these things are being carried out by the young people. So most especially the young people, it's an opportunity for them to as well go out there, join their fellow youths at the international community to preach peace, to also see the need for us to also live in peace and harmony with one another. Because if the youth embrace peace, I believe the entire age group will definitely also embrace it. So it is very, very important that this day is celebrated too.
Okay, with all the challenges we're facing right now in the world, especially in Nigeria, our focus is on Nigeria. What's your vision on the role for the UN and the Nigerian government? What do you think the UN government and even Nigerian government should be doing at this particular time, especially this day that we are celebrating the International Day for Peace?
The UN has an enormous role to play in terms of
they're already doing anyway.
Maintaining peace. Of course, they are doing that, but the thing is the political will for them to enforce this, to ensure that those items as codified in their articles regarding peace are being carried out by the various government. Of course, the Nigerian government have a huge role to play in terms of maintaining peace. You see, some of the causes of conflict being the opposite of peace have always been injustice, corruption, and fear of marginalization by a particular region or set of people. The government should try as much as possible to eliminate this fear of marginalization, very importantly, because I believe that's the major cause of the current IPOP agitation at the southeast. So the government should try as much as possible to treat everybody. We are all citizens, and we're citizens of this country, so no region or section or religion should be marginalized by the other. So there shouldn't be marginalization, and corruption should as well be eliminated. You politicians or the political class are fond of diverting public wealth to their personal purposes, and they didn't just do that. They as well, flaunt those wealth being diverted to the view of the public, the masses who are impoverished, and of course it leads to frustration. This is a common patrimony, for crying out loud. So someone will be frustrated, which is psychologically frustrated because of the poverty being caused by the corrupt, political leaders. So you tend to do anything just to because you feel like you're seeking for justice. Some even go as to the extreme end of even picking arms, against themselves. So I think if corruption is eliminated, which the government has the sole responsibility, of course, not only the government, we the citizens too, we tend to promote corruption. Yes. So we, the individuals, should as well try as much as possible to see the need to, eliminate those causes of.
So we as individuals, even after seeing all those things, especially people who you said flaunting like wealth, corrupt wealth, maybe like in social media, especially, that's how we get to see all these things. What role do you think that individuals have in eliminating passive violence?
We've seen so many icons of peace. We talk of the likes of Martin Luther King. We talk of the likes of Mahatma Gandhi, the then former Prime Minister of India, and so many of them there. The role some individuals played in eliminating passive violence cannot be emphasized. Permit me to borrow from the words of Martin Luther King, who said, peace cannot be kept by force, but it can only be kept by mutual understanding. When you have mutual understanding, within the party involved, rather than resorting to the use of force, I think peace can be attained to some reasonable extent in the society.
Have you we're starting from line. They're talking about the youth, yeah? And we're seeing most of these things actually affecting the youth. In your own opinion, how do you think, and being the president of your department, how do you think we can start, educating the youths about peace? Even if we're seeing these things, what methods do you think, being the president of a department, what methods do you think that the youths can actually, you for example, can use to preach or advocate peace, especially in higher institutions, because this is where we all get all mixed up?
Apart from, because I would have loved to suggest it to be more of like a compulsory course in the university. It shouldn't even be made as a GST course, but it should be made compulsory for all the, the various departments to study. And apart from that too, I think the youth should take this as a responsibility to always organize seminars that preach peace. Of course, they say practice make perfect. Yeah. When the youths are involved in programs that are aimed at promoting peace, instead of attending concerts, social concerts like the one organized by Olamide or whatnot, they tend to learn a lot of things that steer violence from even most of these artists. So instead of wasting our time in social gatherings and otherwise, we should channel our strength towards promoting peace by organizing peace rallies, just the one we did at the University of Abuja's Political Science Department. Okay. I think few months back we organized a program called Tact Festival of Peace. Oh, nice. This is just aimed at harmonizing the various units that exist in the department. According to the 6 geopolitical zones: the south, the southeast, southwest, the north central, and the rest. Of course, the result was actually impressive. And the turnout was massive because the youths embraced it wholeheartedly. And of course, the result is still being felt today.
So don't you think that if people like the organizers who actually did this concert should promote peace more in higher institutions, don't you think that people will embrace it? Because I think maybe they promote a lot of social gatherings, so that's why a lot of people go for social gatherings. But if the youths, or people like the presidents of departments actually focus on creating rallies or exhibitions or shows just to promote peace, don't you think you get a massive turnout and then you'll be able to impact and create awareness on this?
It will definitely create more awareness, and of course the participation will definitely be high because taking reference from the one we just concluded. That was the maiden one, and of course even the school as well, the SUG, which is the mother body of all students union body in the school, also emulated. They also learn from it. They pick it up from there. So it's, as we speak, it's more of like it's going to be more of like an annual tradition. Beautiful. In the department and of course in the entire school as well. So we do this by, if you really want to even make it attractive in such a way that the youths can actively participate, why not you include some social activities in it, just to get a very good turnout from the students, just like the one we did the last time I just said. We include at least an element of carnival in it, so that aspect of carnival attracted, make it colorful, and it brought about massive turnout, and the students really participated very well in it.
Okay, now both of us now are political science, even if I'm a journalist, but then we have better ways, instead of conflicts or war, we have better ways to actually come together to say no. Will you recommend like 2 or 3 ways for us to reduce, instead of carrying arms, or instead of fighting or even throwing words, what would you recommend to actually promote peace?
The content of what our religious leaders preach in our various places of worship tend to be questionable sometimes. So I believe we can resolve conflict without necessarily going into war or raising arm against each other through the religious leaders. They should be able to preach peace. They should be able to tell the upcoming generation or the current generation about the implication of peace. Of course, all the religions, be it Christianity, Islam, and they preach peace. We have salam in the Islamic religion. We have shalom from the Christian angle. So I think religious leaders should be able to organize a program, or there should be a synergy between the major two religions, Christianity and Islamic religion, to be known as either Chrislam or whatsoever they would tend to call it, so that we maintain, because these are the two major causes of conflict in Nigeria today, religion. So I think if you can tackle it from the religion angle, it will also go a long way, in eliminating violence without necessarily carrying arm, against one another. And another thing too, just as we just mentioned earlier, when we resort towards having some programs that are aimed at, achieving peace without necessarily carrying arm against one another. Just as I said, you organize rally, you tell them the implication, because most of the youths have never experienced war in their lives. So they feel
it's not a good thing to,
it's not a good thing to experience, but when they educate them on the implication, the negative implication of war or conflict, they will definitely run away from it, no matter how priced or no matter how much they've paid them to to cause mayhem in the society. They will definitely run away from it.
What of dialogue?
Well, dialogue, we've heard a lot of yes, dialogue is one of the means of resolving conflict in the society. But the question is, we've been having dialogues on several occasions.
Is the dialogue not working?
It's to some extent it's not working. So I think these things should be put into action.
Okay.
Apart from just dialoguing, you discuss an issue and you keep on regurgitating on it over and over again. I think we should put all these things into action, which now still boil down to the same aspect of justice. When you give justice to the citizens, you treat everybody as you treat Mr. A, the same thing you treat Mr. B, and all whatnot. I think all these things will be reduced to. Conflict will be reduced to some extent. So dialogue should be put into action.
I like that. Not just a lot of dialogue. Dialogue should put into action. Okay, final, your last counsel, especially to the youth, because actually we are focusing on the youth. A 60-year-old man will not come out to say he can actually create the conflict sitting down in his parlor, or his office, but he won't come out to carry the arms. It's actually the youth that are actually suffering from it. And I want you to use this opportunity to tell the youth out there to stop war or to preach peace.
We, the youths, we have a very brighter future. We are the future of not only this country, we are the future of the world. And we should be able to embrace peace at all costs, no matter how expensive it is. Peace should be embraced by the youth. And that apart from the youth embracing the peace, there should also be an incentive on this part of the government too. When you teach a youth to value his life, is very important. When you teach someone to value his life, someone can only value his life when you give him all the necessary support. When you train him, when you give him the needed things that will make him comfortable, such person will not even risk, picking arm, against another person, because you definitely, when you value your life, you definitely value somebody's life. Yes. But if you look at majority of the youths, almost 2/3 of the youths are not, they've not been empowered. So they tend to be frustrated because they look at, they don't value their life in the first place, not to even talk of valuing somebody's life. So when you train them on how to value their lives, the youth, when you train us on how to value our lives, I believe these things will be reduced to a certain level. And of course, just as I said, my fellow youths out there, we have a very brighter future ahead, and we shouldn't allow the political class, most especially, to lure us into doing anything that will be detrimental to our existence on earth. So we should, as a matter of fact, embrace this International Youth Day, which is set aside, Peace Day rather, which is set aside to preach peace, to also celebrate peace, and to also support those who are, of course, suffering as a consequence from the devastating effect of conflict. So peace should be the only
driver
way forward to the society.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Well, I've been talking to Yankas Cyril. He is a political scientist, is the president, political science University of Abuja, and he's also a peace advocate and strategist. Thank you so much for being part of Dateline.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for having me.
You're watching Dateline Abuja. It's the UN International Day for Peace. Stay with us. I'll be right back. We as Nigerians should, however, uphold the Nigerian dream of unity in diversity and stay strong, peaceful and united despite the bitter challenges being faced today. Well, just like the popular Nigerian writer Chimamanda Adichie said, remember that we are not just bones and flesh, we are emotional beings and we all share a desire to be valued. So together, let us stand up against violence and war, make love, not war, speak peace and not hate. And that's much I can take for today on Dateline Abuja. Thank you so much for being part of us. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for a repeat broadcast and also follow us on our social media page and also drop your comments and opinion. I'm Hauwa Momoh. Bye for now.